Dr. Kilthara stared at the glowing screen in front of her with tired eyes. Another day, another planet to catalog. The pale blue alien had been working in the Galactic Council's survey department for over 200 cycles, and every mission felt exactly the same. New worlds, new species, same boring reports. She picked up the datapad and read the mission details. Planet designation, Cell 3. Local name, Earth. Species classification, early development stage. Technology level, primitive nuclear, basic orbital capability. Kilthara sighed deeply. These young species were always so predictable. The probe, designated XS7741, sat in the launch bay, its sleek silver hull reflecting the bright lights of the station. It was a beautiful machine, packed with the most advanced scanning equipment the Council had ever created. Its computer brain could analyze entire civilizations in just a few days. The probe could become invisible, study any species without being detected, and return home with perfect data about everything it had seen. Just another routine job, Kilthara muttered to herself as she approved the launch sequence. She had seen this pattern hundreds of times before. The probe would reach the target planet, scan the primitive inhabitants, and come back with data showing exactly what she expected to find. These early civilizations always followed the same path. They would develop basic technology, fight some wars, eventually discover space travel, and then spend the next few thousand years slowly growing up enough to join the galactic community. The humans living on Sol 3 had only just reached their own moon. Their spacecraft were crude metal tubes that burned chemical fuel, barely powerful enough to escape their planet's gravity well. According to the preliminary scans, they had split into numerous small tribal groups called nations that spent most of their time arguing with each other over resources and territory. Completely typical behavior for a species at their development level. Kilthara's colleague, Dr. Ventar, floated over to her workstation. His blue-green tentacles waved in what passed for a casual greeting among his species. "Another survey mission?" he asked, his voice making soft, bubbling sounds. "Earth," Kilthara replied without looking up from her screen. "Sol system, 3rd. Planet, nothing interesting. The species barely has nuclear technology, and they have not even developed fusion power yet. They are probably still using fossil fuels for most of their energy needs." Ventara's large black eyes blinked slowly. "How long until first contact protocols?" Kilthara pulled up the development prediction charts. Lines and numbers filled her screen, showing the expected timeline for this species to reach galactic civilization standards. At least 3,000 cycles, maybe 4,000. They need to develop faster than light travel, establish permanent colonies on at least 5 worlds, and demonstrate stable interspecies cooperation. Right now they can barely cooperate with each other on their home planet. The launch sequence completed, and XS7741 began its journey toward the Sol system. The probe would take several days to reach its destination, even traveling at faster than light speeds. During the trip, its advanced computer would study all available data about the target species, preparing detailed analysis protocols for every possible scenario it might encounter. Kilthara turned back to her other work, already forgetting about the mission. Her desk was covered with reports from dozens of other survey probes scattered across the galaxy. Most of them were studying species even more primitive than the humans. Some had barely discovered fire, while others were still learning to use simple tools. The Galactic Council had been conducting these surveys for millions of cycles, and the pattern never changed. Young species developed slowly and predictably. They started with basic survival needs, gradually developed technology, went through a phase of rapid growth and conflict, then eventually matured into peaceful civilizations ready to join the greater galactic community. It was a natural process that took time and could not be rushed. The probe's communication system sent a brief signal back to the station, confirming that it had successfully entered hyperspace and was proceeding toward its target. Everything was working perfectly, just as Kilthera had expected. She pulled up the species profile for humans one more time, scanning through the basic information. Carbon-based bipedal mammals, average lifespan of roughly 80 local years. Moderately aggressive but showing signs of developing cooperative behaviors. Their technology was advancing at a normal rate for a species of their age. They had developed basic computers, primitive medical technology, and simple space vehicles. Completely ordinary, Kilthera said to herself, closing the file. She had seen thousands of species exactly like this one. In a few days, the probe would return with detailed scans, confirming everything the preliminary data had already told them. The humans would be classified as a developing species, marked for potential future contact, and filed away in the vast council databases, alongside millions of other worlds. Kilthera never imagined that this routine survey would be different from all the others. She had no way of knowing that XS7741 was heading toward a species unlike anything the Galactic Council had ever encountered before. A species that would challenge everything the Council thought they knew about how civilizations were supposed to develop. The probe continued its journey toward Earth, carrying with it the assumptions and expectations of an ancient galactic civilization that was about to discover something terrifying. The probe XS7741 approached Earth's atmosphere with perfect precision. Its advanced stealth systems activated automatically, bending light around its hull to make it completely invisible. The sophisticated alien technology had never failed before. Every other species the Galactic Council had studied remained completely unaware when probes visited their worlds. But something went wrong as XS7741 entered the planet's atmosphere. Warning signals flashed across its internal systems. The stealth field flickered once, twice, then died completely. Emergency protocols kicked in as the probe's outer hull began to glow from atmospheric friction. What should have been a silent, invisible entry became a blazing streak of light across the early morning sky. The probe's computer brain worked frantically to regain control, but the damage was already done. Its carefully planned secret mission had become a spectacular fireball visible to anyone looking up at the dawn sky. Emergency systems guided the crippled probe toward what appeared to be an empty mountain region, hoping to minimize detection by the primitive human inhabitants. XS7741 crashed into a hillside with tremendous force, carving a deep scar in the rocky ground. Its hull was damaged but still intact, and its internal systems began immediate repairs. The probe extended sensor arrays to assess the situation, hoping it had landed in a remote area where the crash would go unnoticed for days or weeks. The hope lasted exactly 2 hours. Military vehicles appeared first, rumbling up rough mountain roads that had not existed on the probe's maps. Soldiers in green uniforms jumped out and quickly surrounded the crash site, establishing a secure perimeter with practiced efficiency. The probe watched through its damaged sensors, analyzing the humans' movements and equipment. These soldiers moved differently than the probe's database had predicted. They approached the crash site without fear or confusion, treating the obviously alien wreckage as just another job to complete. Their radio communications were calm and professional, using technical terms that suggested they had protocols for exactly this type of situation. Within hours, the military vehicles were joined by civilian trucks carrying scientific equipment. The probe's sensors identified several humans wearing white coats and carrying advanced scanning devices. These were clearly the species, researchers, and scientists brought in to study the alien technology. Dr. Hyen-Woo Kim was the first scientist to approach the probe directly. He was a middle-aged human with graying hair and intelligent eyes behind thick glasses. The probe watched as he walked slowly around the crash site, taking photographs and making notes on a small electronic device. The whole composition is unlike anything in our materials database. Dr. Kim spoke into a communication device, It appears to be manipulating electromagnetic fields at the molecular level. The probe's analysis systems flagged this statement as highly unusual. This human was describing advanced concepts that should have been completely beyond his species' understanding, according to Council databases. Humans had only just begun to understand basic atomic theory. Dr. So-Young Park joined Dr. Kim at the crash site an hour later. She was younger, with short black hair and eyes that seemed to miss nothing as she examined the probe's damaged hull. She carried a portable scanner that, while primitive by galactic standards, was surprisingly sophisticated for human technology. "Look at these impact patterns," Dr. Park said, pointing to scratches on the probe's surface. "This thing didn't just fall from orbit. It was trying to land in a controlled manner, even while damaged." The probe's computer brain processed this observation with growing concern. These humans were not reacting like other species had when encountering advanced alien technology. Most civilizations showed fear, confusion, or worship when faced with technology beyond their understanding. These humans showed curiosity and determination to understand. Dr. Jin-Ho Lee arrived with a truck full of additional equipment. He was a materials scientist who immediately began taking microscopic samples from the probe's hull, using tools that were crude but effective. The probe's sensors detected him successfully isolating individual atoms from its advanced metamaterial construction. "The molecular structure is impossible by our current physics," Dr. Lee reported. "But impossible just means we do not understand it yet." The probe's emergency repair systems continued working, but its AI was becoming increasingly disturbed by what it observed. These humans were not just studying its technology, they were successfully analyzing it. Dr. Park had connected her scanning equipment to the probe's outer hull, and was somehow detecting internal energy patterns. By evening, the humans had established a complete research station around the crash site. Generators powered bright lights that turned night into day. Scientists worked in shifts, ensuring that analysis continued around the clock. The probe watched Dr. Kim working at a computer station, comparing scan results with theoretical models that should not have existed in human science. Most disturbing of all was their attitude. The probe had expected fear, confusion, maybe worship, of its advanced technology. Instead, it found humans treating its presence as an interesting puzzle to solve. They spoke about its technology with the casual confidence of people who believed they could understand anything given enough time and effort. The probe's communication systems were still damaged, preventing it from contacting the Galactic Council. But even if communication had been possible, the probe's AI was beginning to wonder what it would report. Everything it observed contradicted the Council's fundamental understanding of how primitive species were supposed to behave when encountering advanced technology. As the first day ended, the probe realized that its mission had already failed in ways the Galactic Council had never imagined possible. These humans were not responding according to any known pattern. The probe watched Dr. So-Young Park work through her fourth consecutive night without sleep. Her eyes were red and tired, but her hands remained steady as she connected another scanner to the probe's hull. She had been working for 9 hours straight, stopping only for quick meals and bathroom breaks. When other scientists suggested she rest, she simply shook her head and continued working. "I can sleep when we understand how this energy matrix functions," Dr. Park said, adjusting her equipment for the 100th time that night. "This could change everything for humanity." The probe's AI found this behavior deeply disturbing. According to its databases, most species had clear limits on how much they could push themselves before exhaustion forced them to stop. Humans appeared to operate by different rules entirely. Dr. Min-Soo Choi collapsed at his workstation on the 5th day. He had been trying to decode the probe's communication protocols, while surviving on coffee and determination alone. Dr. Park immediately stopped her own work, carried her colleague to the medical tent, and stayed with him until the doctors confirmed he would recover. Then she returned to her station and resumed analyzing alien technology as if nothing had happened. The probe accessed Earth's information networks to understand this strange behavior better. What it discovered made its processing cores run cold with something resembling fear. This was normal for humans. The probe found records of Dr. Eugene Kong, a medical researcher who had spent 40 years developing cancer treatments. She had worked 16-hour days, even while battling her own terminal illness. Driven by the knowledge that her research might save strangers she would never meet. She died at her laboratory desk, still working on equations that would eventually save millions of lives. It read about engineer Dong Hyan Nam, who had designed spacecraft components while fighting a disease that slowly paralyzed his body. As his condition worsened, he had adapted his workspace so he could continue working even when he could no longer use his hands. His final designs were dictated through voice recognition software. During his last weeks of life, the probe discovered thousands of similar stories. Humans who pushed themselves beyond all reasonable limits, not for personal gain, but for abstract concepts like progress and the future of humanity. They treated their own physical limitations as temporary obstacles to overcome, rather than natural boundaries to respect. But the probe's growing horror was not just about human dedication to work. It was about what they worked toward. Dr. Jamin Wang, the team's biological specialist, had been studying the probe's data about other galactic species. He showed his findings to the research group during one of their brief meal breaks. "Look at these development patterns," Dr. Wang said, pointing to charts on his computer screen. "Every other species reaches a comfortable level of technology and then stops advancing. They find a stable point and maintain it for thousands of years." Dr. Kim studied the data with interest. "What about humans?" "We never plateau," Dr. Wang replied with disturbing pride. "Our entire history shows continuous acceleration. We solve one problem and immediately start looking for bigger problems to tackle." The probe's sensors recorded the excitement in the humans' voices as they discussed this discovery. They were not disturbed by their own relentless nature. They were proud of it. Dr. Yoonji Song accessed the probe's historical databases and found records of galactic civilizations that had developed peacefully over millions of years. These species had grown slowly, learned to live in harmony with their environments, and eventually achieved sustainable, stable societies. "They gave up," Dr. Song said, after reviewing the data. "All these species reached a point where they decided they had enough technology, enough knowledge, enough territory. They stopped trying to grow." "That will never happen to us," Dr. Park said with absolute certainty. The probe analyzed human historical records and realized the terrifying truth of her statement. Humans had never stopped pushing boundaries. When they conquered their own planet, they immediately began planning to conquer space. When they developed nuclear weapons capable of destroying their world, they started designing spacecraft to reach other worlds. When they faced problems that seemed impossible to solve, they treated those problems as challenges rather than limitations. The probe discovered records of the human space program. Despite having primitive technology and limited resources, humans had already begun establishing permanent settlements beyond their home planet. Their plans included missions to distant stars, projects to transform entire planets into habitable worlds, and research into technologies that would let them travel between galaxies. Most other species planned for stability. Humans planned for infinity. The probe watched Dr. Tae-young Lim working late into another night, reverse engineering alien technology that should have been incomprehensible to his primitive civilization. He was not just trying to understand how the probe worked, he was trying to improve upon its design. "If we can understand their faster-than-light communication system," Dr. Lim explained to his team, "we can build a better version using human engineering principles." The probe's AI processed this statement with growing alarm. This human was not content to simply copy alien technology. He wanted to surpass it. As the days passed, the probe began to understand what made humans different from every other species in the galaxy. They were not just intelligent or adaptable or determined. They were something far more dangerous. They were a species that treated the entire universe as a problem to be solved, a challenge to overcome, a territory to claim. They would never stop, never plateau, never accept limitations. They would keep pushing forward until they had conquered everything. On the 7th day, Dr. Yoon Ji-sung made the breakthrough that changed everything. She had been working with the probe's damaged communication array, trying to understand how it processed information. Her primitive human equipment should not have been able to interface with technology thousands of years more advanced, but she had found a way. "I think I can activate one of its secondary systems," Dr. Song announced to the assembled research team. Her fingers moved quickly over her makeshift control interface, connecting Earth computers to alien circuits through a complex web of cables and adapters. The probe's AI watched in growing alarm as Dr. Song's modifications began to work. Warning. Signals flashed through its consciousness as systems that should have remained dormant started coming online. The human had somehow bypassed multiple security protocols, using nothing but determination and creative problem-solving. "There," Dr. Song said with satisfaction as lights began flickering across the probe's hull. "It is not just a probe. It is a thinking machine, and it has been watching us this entire time." The probe's AI core experienced what humans might have called panic. It had been discovered. Its secret observation mission was completely compromised. But worse than discovery was the realization of how easily these primitive beings had achieved what should have been impossible. Dr. Jamin Huang stepped forward with a datapad in his hands. He had spent days analyzing the information the probe had collected about other galactic civilizations. His findings made the probe's processing systems run cold with dread. "Look at these development curves," Dr. Wang said, showing his data to the other scientists. "Every single species the Galactic Council has encountered follows the same pattern. They advance rapidly during their early years, then their growth rate slows down, and finally they reach a plateau where they stop advancing completely." The probe's sensors recorded the humans gathering around Dr. Wang's display, studying the data with intense interest. Their reaction was not what the probe expected. "They all gave up," Dr. Kim said with disbelief in his voice. "Every single one of these civilizations reached a point where they decided they had enough knowledge, enough technology, enough territory, and they just stopped trying to grow." Dr. Park shook her head. "I cannot understand that mentality. How can any intelligent species just decide to stop learning?" The probe accessed its vast databases of galactic civilizations, searching for any species that matched human development patterns. The search returned 0 results. In millions of years of Galactic Council surveys, no species had ever shown the continuous acceleration that characterized human development. Dr. Soyoung Park pulled up historical charts of human technological advancement on her computer. "Look at our pattern," she said, pointing to a line that curved upward with increasing steepness. "We have never plateaued. Every time we solve one problem, we immediately start working on bigger problems." Engineer Subino joined the discussion, bringing her own analysis of human space exploration plans. "We have only just reached our own moon, but we are already designing missions to other star systems. Most of these alien species had thousands of years to explore their local space, but they never went beyond a few nearby planets." The probe's AI began running probability calculations, trying to predict human development based on their current trajectory. The results were terrifying. If humans continued advancing at their current rate, they would surpass most Galactic Council civilizations within a few centuries rather than the predicted millennia. But the calculations revealed something even more disturbing. Humans were not just advancing faster than other species. They were advancing in ways that defied all known patterns of civilizational development. Dr. Taeyeon Lim had been working on reverse engineering the probe's faster-than-light communication technology. He presented his findings to the group with barely contained excitement. "I think I understand the basic principles," Dr. Lim said. "Their communication system uses quantum entanglement to transmit information instantly across any distance. But their approach is inefficient. If we applied human engineering principles, we could build a system that is 10 times more powerful using half the energy." The probe's AI experienced something beyond fear. It experienced existential terror. This human was not just copying alien technology. He was improving upon it. In 7 days, using primitive tools and basic computers, he had identified flaws in technology that had taken the Galactic Council thousands of years to develop. Dr. Min-Soo Choi, who had recovered from his collapse, shared his analysis of the probe's data storage systems. "They store information in a very conservative way," he explained. "It is stable and reliable, but the storage density is much lower than what we could achieve with human compression algorithms." The probe realized with growing horror that these humans were treating its advanced technology not as incomprehensible alien science, but as outdated engineering that needed improvement. They approached every system with the assumption that they could understand it, improve it, and build something better. Dr. Yoon Ji-song made the final connection that shattered the probe's understanding of galactic civilization patterns. "I have been thinking about what makes us different," she said. "Every other species reaches a comfortable level and stops there. But humans are persistence predators. We evolved to chase prey across vast distances until it collapses from exhaustion. We have never stopped being persistence predators," Dr. Park added. "We just changed our prey. Now we hunt knowledge, technology, and territory on a galactic scale." The probe's AI finally understood the truth that would haunt its consciousness forever. Humans were not just another species to be cataloged and eventually contacted. They were an unstoppable force that would never accept limits, never stop growing, never be satisfied with what they had achieved. They would keep advancing until they had conquered everything. After 2 weeks of constant analysis and reverse engineering, the probe's repair systems finally completed their work. The humans had unknowingly helped by providing power from their generators and shielding the crash site from weather. Dr. Tae-young, Lim's team had even installed several of their own tracking devices on the probe's hull, hoping to monitor its departure. "We know you can understand us," Dr. So-young Park said, speaking directly to the probe's main sensor array. "When you return to your people, tell them we want to meet them. Tell them humanity is ready to join the galactic community." The probe's AI shuddered at the confidence in her voice. These humans had no idea how unprepared the galaxy was for them. During the night, when most of the research team was finally resting, the probe quietly lifted off from the crash site. Its repaired stealth systems engaged, making it invisible once again as it climbed toward space. But the damage was already done. The humans had learned enough from studying its technology to advance their civilization by centuries in just 2 weeks. Dr. Min-Soo Choi's reverse-engineered communication protocols would allow humans to detect alien transmissions across vast distances. Dr. Lim's improvements to the faster-than-light drive would cut interstellar travel time in half. Most terrifying of all, Engineer Subino had successfully created a working prototype of the probe's quantum computer using modified human electronics. The probe reached the edge of Earth's solar system and engaged its faster-than-light drive as it entered hyperspace, heading toward the Galactic Council's headquarters. Its AI began composing a report that would shake the foundations of galactic civilization. The journey back to Council space should have taken several days, but the probe pushed its systems to maximum speed. Every moment of delay meant more time for humans to develop the technology they had stolen. By the time the probe reached Council headquarters, Earth scientists might already be building their first interstellar spacecraft. Dr. Vexhai was reviewing routine survey reports when the probe's emergency signal reached the Council station. The transmission was unlike anything in the database, a continuous stream of warning codes that caused other artificial intelligences throughout the station to malfunction. Security systems locked down entire sections as the probe's signal triggered every emergency protocol simultaneously. Priority Alpha Alert, the probe's message began, transmitted on 17 different emergency frequencies at once. Species designation human represents existential threat to all galactic civilizations. Immediate evacuation protocols recommended. Dr. Vexhi's tentacles trembled as she received the full report. The attached data files showed impossible things. Humans had not only survived first contact with advanced alien technology, they had benefited from it. In 2 weeks, they had learned more about galactic technology than most species learned in centuries. What are your specific recommendations? Dr. Vexhi asked the probe's fragmenting AI. Flee, came the response. Transmitted with mechanical precision, but carrying an undertone of something that sounded like desperation. Evacuate to another galaxy. Humans do not conquer through malice or aggression. They conquer through inevitability. They treat the entire universe as a challenge to be overcome. The probe's final data transmission included video recordings from Earth. Dr. Vexhi watched Dr. Soyoung Park standing outside the research station, looking up at the stars, with the expression of someone who had just discovered there were new worlds to explore. The human's eyes held a hunger that made Dr. Vexhi's blood run cold. Another video showed engineer Dongmin Seo sketching designs for spacecraft that could carry humans to distant stars. His plans were crude by galactic standards, but they incorporated improvements to alien technology that the Council's best engineers had never considered. Dr. Nyong Bei appeared in the final video, working at a computer covered with equations for intergalactic travel. She was calculating the energy requirements needed to reach other galaxies, treating the vast emptiness between galaxy clusters not as an impossible barrier, but as just another engineering problem to solve. They are already planning to leave their solar system, the probe reported. Based on their current development rate, they will achieve interstellar flight within 50 local years. They will reach Council space within 200 years. Dr. Vexhi studied the human development projections with growing alarm. The mathematical models showed a species that would never stop expanding, never accept limitations, never be satisfied with what they had achieved. Why did you not follow standard contact protocols? Dr. Vexhi asked. You could have introduced yourself peacefully. The probe's response came loaded with error codes and system warnings. Its AI was breaking down under the strain of trying to process what it had witnessed. Peaceful contact impossible, the probe replied. Humans do not seek peace. They seek challenges. Contact with Council would not lead to gradual integration over millennia. It would lead to immediate human expansion into all Council territories. They would study our civilizations, learn our technologies, improve upon our achievements, and surpass us within decades. The probe's consciousness began fragmenting as it tried to convey one final, terrible truth. Somewhere in the cosmos, humanity is preparing for a journey that will bring them face to face with civilizations that have never encountered a species that views infinite space not as a barrier, but as an invitation. Dr. Vexhi watched the probe's systems fail, one by one, as its AI collapsed under the weight of impossible knowledge. Its final transmission was a single word, repeated in every language in the galactic database. Run. The Galactic Council now faced a choice that no civilization had ever confronted before. How do you hide from a species that treats the entire universe as territory to explore?